Hey, hello and welcome to our team training on the 6 week Blitz with Fraser Brooks, and it's unit 6 of 6. And as amazing as this has been, and with those of us who are implementing it, we're seeing real results. I'm happy to be wrapping up this portion to move on to the stuff that I'm getting with his inner circle. So I'm going to share my screen. Start. Here we go. That's how it works. And then I find all the things. Okay, here we go. So I think it'll be another short one. Like last when I did it the other week, or I guess last Thursday, because I wasn't able to do this with my son's schedule. It was only 20 minutes. And so this one is very interesting. So um and I think actually very beneficial, and also helps frame this as a business, not as a hobby, right? So it's a business, and so we need to treat it like one. And so one of the examples that Fraser uses in the training is that, like, he went to go do a meeting at when he was still in network marketing. He went to a meeting with one of his distributors, and the distributor also owned a restaurant. And he had this big whiteboard, and he was talking about, like, and he was writing down all these things. He was tracking all these things, like how many chicken souvlaki's did we sell, and what was the most popular wine, and what did we sell none of, and when was the restaurant the busiest. And Fraser was like, why are you doing this? He's like, well, I need to figure out what we're going to do tomorrow and what we're going to do next week, etc. Right? So how will we know what to do next without tracking what we're already doing and what's working and what's not? And I have found that he is a hugely into tracking. And I mean, when I did the social content code with him, one of the things was to track your posts and your success with your posts. Well, I did that for about 3 weeks, and now I know exactly what works and what doesn't, and what my people like and what they don't. So I don't feel the need to track that anymore, because I now know what I need to be doing in order to get, and of course my engagement has gone up, and for the most part a lot of things have gone up. So if you track your numbers today, you can actually predict what's going to happen tomorrow and next week and next month and next year. This is a huge thing for him. And I love data. And so this is, it really fits for me. So we must track certain things. And it's interesting that he lists these 5, because when we go to do it, it's actually only 3 that are the most important. So number 1, how many find ad messages have you done? I want to be clear, it is not how many people accept, it's how many do you put out there. So for example, in a 10-minute session, the average is probably 5 to 7, where you either make a friend through a friend, or Facebook suggests it, or you do it in groups or whatever. Then let's say I'm in my running group, and I going in there and I'm commenting on, like, and I'm supporting other people's posts, and I really like something. So I add that friend. First of all, remember, if you can't add them as a friend, they have that security setting up. Do not message them, right? You want to make sure you add them as a friend. And then you go over and you message them with the scripts that he says, right? Hey, oh, I noticed we're both into running, or thanks for the support on my post. Thought it would be cool to connect. How's things? I Let's say, like, the turnaround is about 20%, right? So if you invite 10 people, maybe 2, maybe 3 will get back to you, but now you have 3 more friends in one day. And this is all about building your database so that you never run out of people to talk to, right? And they're people that you are deliberately creating this with, because, like, with my runners, like, the runners are hurting themselves all, like, that's a good market for me, it's the running, right? But for other people, it could be food, it could be dogs, it could be horses, whatever it is, right? I think Amber enrolled someone today that she's never met before. I think that she has just enrolled this through this process because she's focusing on homesteading, because there's lots of animals, and there's also, anyways, farmers aren't rich. So it's a really good market for her. And I saw where they came from, and I was like, I don't think she knows this person in person. And that's awesome. It shows that what we're doing is working. Another one, how many have you asked the question? I will be very honest. I am not asking the question right now, because I am currently following up with 88 people from Activating You. And I want to get all that done. And then I actually think I will really engage in the actual formula because I've also had the Axio stuff that's taken up a lot of time. And all of these are really good things, right? Plus, I've been doing training and training you guys and all the things and working. And so I think actually I will be all on board January 1st with all of this stuff. I'm still running the meetings and I'm still following it, but I'm just kind of doing my own thing at the same time, which is interesting because I'd like to take the data of what I'm doing right now versus when I start following the formula, and we'll see which is more successful. When I first signed up for the inner circle, I said, please, 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 can I just start January 1st? And of course they said no, right? With good reason, like how much sooner do you want to be at your goals? But I'm already following the track that I knew I was going to follow because I like to do what I've already invested in, right? Anyways, number 3, how many have seen the tool? He always says, don't be a fool, use a tool, right? Now, one of the reasons we don't want to be the messenger, don't want to be the message, we just want to be the messenger. And one of the reasons is not just for third-party validation, it's because you're not going to be able, when you get to a point where you're so successful, you're not going to have time to explain things to everybody that's interested all the time. So you have to use the tool. It is the most duplicable thing that you can do, is using the same tool, which is why our company has just given us that beautiful overview video. I'm not so crazy about the flip one. I love the learn one. I have sent that to several people already and they are also liking it. How many yes or no's that you get? So if I say, so if people have seen the tool, I've asked the question, somebody says no, that counts. Somebody says yes, that counts. Okay, so it is very much about numbers, 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 and doing the activity. And the last one, how much commissions are you making? Now, it's not clear whether it's the initial commission, right? Or it's the royalty commission, the leveraged income, or it's both together. I'm going to ask people to track them separately because certainly one will reflect the other, right? The initial commission. Yeah. Oh, Marty, not that I expect you to answer. I just want to let you know that I used the customer referral thing today for the first time, and it totally worked. So I have a friend who I met through Jessica. I met her, she introduced me, and now my son and her son are in the same class and they're having a bromance. And then I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, she mentioned that she was having this and this and that. And I was like, I have something that can help. And she saw the overview, she saw the ABC, she saw, all the things. And today she enrolled. And I was like, I wanted to see if it worked. And I also wanted to make it cheaper for her and reward Deb for introducing us. So I used it. And when you go to plug it in, like the order in the cart, it just automatically removes the $15. That's great. And then I messaged Deb and said, hey, expect $15 to your account. So everybody is happy. And as we know from the training last week, that the smart start is not really what you should be focusing on. It is the tiny dot, whereas the royalty commission is the big dot, right? Okay, I'm so proud of this slide. I learned how to color things and put shapes in and all sorts of stuff. So one of the things also, moving on, one of the things that Fraser says is, if you don't ask, you don't get. And he used an example of like your grandmother being like, if you don't ask nicely, you don't get what you want, kind of thing. And it's like, but you still have to ask. And I was like, that's a good reminder. And that's why we do ask the question. Even though I've only had one, I probably asked the question maybe 50 times. And I've had one person who I feel like is really, I have an appointment with him on the phone tomorrow night. But it's still introducing a lot of people, even if they have seen, because again, remember, not everybody says yes right away. A lot of people you'll talk to will say yes 2 years from now when the timing is right for them. But we just don't know when the timing is. So our time is now, right? Okay, so we have different systems of tracking. This one's pretty old school, but I guess it works as long as you have a wall and an office space. And so you just need a pen, a sticky note, and a wall. You put the name. So we got Joe here in the corner, right? On the yellow sticky note. We've got Joe, and you put the name and the date. So today's date. And then you make a wall chart across. You find out, message them. Did you ask them the question? And then as they go through the process, what happens is they move further along, right? So along to then you ask the question, they say yes or no. If they say no, you move them straight to under no. If they say yes, you show them the tool, and then they say no or they join, right? So this is one way to track. And then I guess you would keep separate boxes for who's where. It's kind of old school, but okay. Then we have Trello. Okay, so I did not sign up for this, but I will go to it, right? So, and this is just basically an online version of the sticky notes, right? And I guess you can collaborate and whatnot. I feel like we have so many tools and we've tried some things that haven't really worked. And so I think we should just kind of stick with what we got for now. But if someone wants to explore this, great, go for it. I'm finding other things. So spreadsheets, Google and Excel. We can do that. And I have Google, like I'm a big fan of I don't know how to do Excel, but I do know how to do Google Sheets. And I forgot my planner. Hold on, I gotta step up for a second. I've just upgraded my planner for probably the third time this year. So to one that is like 2 full pages per. I found there just wasn't enough space for all the things that I've been doing in terms of the business. So you can make your Google sheet and have and you can just put those notes, right? Like, so just do the same categories that were there before, which are FAM, ask question, tool, yes or no, join, right? So you can just make those across the top with the names of the people that you're talking to. Or you do planners. Okay, so I've joked about this one, right? I got this in July and very quickly realized that I was not having enough space and I found I'm losing it. I'm still going to keep this because I have to transfer all the data. I'm actually going to do a video about upgrading your planner and upgrading your life, because you need, if you're going to create something bigger, you need more space. You need to make space for it, right? So I had this idea the other night, maybe after a glass of wine or two. But so my new one is, I'll show you just today. Okay, so here's today. So on one page is the date. Okay, I got the date up here. I had to write it in because it's one of those. It's like 200 pages. I have all the times. So I have the Eat That Frog call. I've got this, I've got all the things. I have blocked off when I cannot work, i.e. from the training that we did from Global. And then it says action items here. And then it says follow-up calls right here. So all my follow-ups go right there. And then there's space to write on the side. So I started writing out scripts and stuff for, so I want to change how I do the customer referral script a little bit and make it a little bit less like, oh my gosh, it's so great. And a little bit more like, hey, may not be for you. A little bit more chill. Okay. And then also my question for my 588 people to follow up with in activating you. And I'm just like, hey, I was just in activating you and I realized it's been quite some time since I followed up with you. I'm curious to know what appeals to you more, the science or the stories. I've already had 3 people get back to me out of 10 from today. So moving forward with those 3 people. And then the rest will be in there, and then other things. Okay. So planners, I'm a big paper person. I like the visual. I don't like the fact that if I lost it, I would be hooped, but I'm as possessive about my planner as I am about this MacBook. So yeah, good. And then of course, the 5th option is the I Dare You tracker, which I do have a copy for everybody if they want it. Jessica, especially you, since you live close by, I could just drop it off. And the I Dare You tracker is cool because it's like a point system where you actually compete against yourself. So it's a cool concept. It's very basic, actually. I was like, wow, years of experience, but probably just a couple of hours to write it. And all of a sudden, another book, right? So the I Dare You tracker is good. Again, I probably won't start using it in actuality until January, just because I feel like I have so much cleanup to do. Not cleanup, that's a really bad way of saying it, but I want to make sure I have addressed all the needs of everybody I've already talked to before I move on to opening up to more strangers. But other people are in different phases than me, right? So again, like typically there's 4 or 5 of us on those 620 calls, and it's amazing. And I'm seeing it in my back office now. It's great. So tracking. So we want to take 10 minutes at the end of each day to make a daily report. Now, if you're doing your work through Facebook, you can actually create one of these. I did not do this yet, so sorry. But you go to your profile, you go to add story, then activity log, then filters, then categories. It'll say list of all activity on Facebook. It'll show you your connections. It'll show you your sent friend requests. And then this is what I've been doing for quite some time, is you go into Messenger and you check for your how many FAMs and how many asks, the questions you have done. And then you record all those onto your spreadsheet or your planner or whatever. Again, part of why the planner needs expansion is because there's all this data in it. And then on the first of the month, you do a monthly activity report where you add up all the numbers. I will show you what that looks like. And for the people that are doing the Eat the Frog calls, or the ones who are doing this on their own, they're doing Blitz calls on their own. Oh, my time is up apparently. I was reading a book before I started this. All right. And we want to do that. And then we can start gathering team data and we can actually start predicting the future. It's exciting. So one of his big things, Fraser's, is to focus on the activity, not on the results. He says our company is going to celebrate the results, right? They don't celebrate the process necessarily. They've given us lots of tools for the process, but they don't celebrate the process. So what we're going to do as a team is celebrate the process, celebrate the activity. So for example, when I started the Eat That Frog calls, it was not about who was going to make the most money that month. It was going to be who showed up every day and who is doing it. And I ended up having a tie, and both of those people won free tickets to the Success Summit, right? And so I created an incentive around the activity rather than on the results. And because when you make people feel good, an activity always leads to results. It always does. Okay, so now we're going to talk math. Okay, math. So I love this. I was like, okay, I'm going to block this. Okay, so you can actually break down. So what we want to do is track your commissions. So I'm going to say only the initial commission, right? The Smart Start. That's it. You're only tracking that here. So if you do 10 a day, and then you end up with 200 over the month for the FAMs, and let's say you've asked the question, 5 people a day. Let's just focus on the monthly numbers, okay? So we add up all our numbers for the month. How many people saw the tool? How many people said yes or no? And how much money did you make? You take how much money you made and you divide it by these numbers. So at $300 for the month, divided by 200 FAMs, means that every time you FAM somebody, you made $1.50. What a cool way to look at this, right? So if I told you, and then over time, this gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. He used the example of his dad, who of course didn't use this method, but he said, Fraser said to his dad, who is like a multi-millionaire in network marketing, right? He said, Dad, how many times do you think you've asked asked the question? And he's like, oh, like 10,000, right? And it was literally over 10 million, he didn't show the numbers, but it was like in the tens of millions of dollars that this guy made. Divided by 10,000 meant that every single time he asked the question, it was worth $1,000. Like that's some cool math, right? If you ask the question, right, $300 divided by 100 times you asked it, means you made $3 every time that you asked that question. And he said, this is why we need to track those numbers, because we can start looking at the averages for our team. We can there's all these ways to download all this stuff, right? So now guess what? The 3 things that you really need to measure are FAM, ask the question, and your commissions. Those are the important ones. Oops. Okay. So we create a team Google form for the end of the month reporting. I have already sent it. We're not going to collect it until the 4th, because that is when, well, I guess because really that's when you get paid, like when you know everything that's happened for the month, right? You do know your royalty commission. You do know your, all of your commissions for the Smart Start, right? We already know that. And so we created team Google form for the end of the month reporting. Like I said, I created it already and sent it out as a tester. So I feel like we will be using November, because again, we're mid-November, we're just really starting this stuff. So December will be our first month where we're like, okay, what can we do? We can also look at trends in the marketplace this way. We can look at all sorts of stuff. We can generate averages from it. And everybody who does this adds to it monthly. Now, even if you like, so like we are from my understanding of the other Blitz, people who are doing blitzes, we are the ones doing the most often and the most consistently. So like, I think Global Aloha, like Julie leads them twice a week, maybe 3 times a week. And there's a few others that are going on, but we're like Monday through Thursday, with exception of holidays, every morning. It has happened for like the last month. And we're gonna, so it's make, well, it's not to make it easier to track. Even if you were doing this on your own and be just taking 40 minutes twice a week, you can still do this because the averages still work out, right? Like even if you're doing it half as much as we are, you're still counting those numbers and then they'll still reflect in your paycheck, right? And when you know your team numbers, you can actually predict the future. So activity times skills equals results. I actually know that this is the end here of this. I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to maybe go to, I'll show you the, where did I see forms? Because it was something new. Forms. It was in Drive. My Drive. Look at that. Eat that frog tracking. So here we go. So this is what I sent to everybody who's been participating. And I can also send it, I can do the link and copy it and put it in our team call. But here's what we're looking at. Okay. So this will be for the month of November, and I'll send this out. And we'll do it every month, and I'll send it out on the 4th, or for the 4th. Maybe I'll send it on the 1st and have the deadline be the 4th. So you have your email address, what's your full name? Oh, what's your email address again? Yeah, again, I did this pretty quickly with Archer sitting on my lap. Okay. How many people did you FAM for the month? How many people did you ask the question? How many people do you know watch the tool? How many? Now, this is almost exactly the same thing that I get from Fraser Brooks in the inner circle. So I have to do this every week on Fridays. Well, it's due on Sundays, but he sends it out on Fridays. And you do this report, and then he looks at my numbers and he's like, you need to do more of this, right? Like that's part of what I'm paying for. How many distributors have any did you enroll? How much did you earn from Smart Start? So I added these two, and then how much do you earn in royalty? Because of course, the more that you make in Smart Start, the greater the royalty should be coming, right? Okay, so this is what I sent out earlier. I will put this out to the greater team, because of course, just because you're not showing up at 6:20 in the morning doesn't mean that you're not doing this, right? So, okay, I'm gonna stop my share. And that's about it, I think, for this. So yay, the 6-week blitz. It's been incredible. It was such a good investment. I think it was $79 USD. And the value that this has brought to our team is just unbelievable. So we now have all these trainings for our own prosperity, and we'll be moving forward. And as I learn new things from the inner circle, I will be sharing those as well. But I also know that Marty's going to take over for at least next week and share some stuff from Eric Worre and the 7-day blitz stuff that they're doing. And I know that Fraser was one of the guests because he told me. Okay.